The Browns win it. The Browns win it. The Browns win it. Yes, they find a way yet again. Adam the Bull with you in the bullpen, and the Browns have pulled it out over Pittsburgh in Cleveland. 13-10 is the final. Yes, the offense was ugly for both teams. It set back quarterback play 50 years. It felt like a ninth game from when I was a little kid in the 70s, right? But in the end, the Browns, who have been so resilient all year long, found a way to win. They blew a 10-0 lead, but get a field goal by Dustin Hopkins. That guy has come through every time. He did it again today. Blast the field goal, 37 yards, I think? Let me check what that was. Even less, 34 yards. And the Browns win by a final of 13-10. We'll get into all of it. Not a lot of offense to talk about, a lot of defense to talk about, some special teams. But the Browns improved to 7-3. They are just a half game behind Baltimore for first place in the AFC North. And if the playoffs ended right at this second, they would be the Browns are tied with Miami and Jacksonville for the at 7-3. The Browns are only Baltimore 7-4. I don't know what I said Baltimore was, but they're 8-3. I think I screwed that up. I don't think I said they're 8-3. Right now, the only teams with better records than the Browns, you got Baltimore at 8-3, Kansas City at 7-2. They are right there, and there's only at the moment 6 teams in the AFC that are more than a game over 500. So the Browns, despite all they've gone through on the offense all season long, with the injuries, now Watson out for the year, Jack Conklin out for the year, Nick Chubb out for the year, Jed Wills has missed a lot of time. On and on and on it goes on offense. Myles Garrett led the way for the defense, and the Browns win. We'll break it all down next. But first, get extra value this football season with BetRivers Squares. Win up to $10,000 in bonus money. Bet $10 in same-game parlays on any game with the Squares icon to earn a square. We recap the Browns' big win. This is the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers.
You're watching Adam the Bull on the BetRivers Network.
All right, let's jump into it, baby. So, this game, again, the offense was ugly. Now, a lot of that was certainly both teams' ability to play defense, but some of it was just the ineptitude of both offensive teams. I will say that I thought that DTR played well in the first half. He made some good throws, was hurt by some drops. But as the game went on, they played very conservatively. I guess I shouldn't be stunned about anything, but I was surprised about all the criticism of the game. You know, Kevin Stefanski, how many times does this guy have to show you how good a coach he is before you believe it? There are so many people complaining on social media about the conservative nature on the offense. All week on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. All week right here on the podcast. What did we talk about? Just don't turn it over, right? We said that time and time again. Just don't turn it over. Run the ball, quick passes. That's exactly what they did. They didn't push it downfield. Yes, in the second half, the Steelers, until that final drive, were able to stop them. They were jumping on all the routes. I get it. And you can't play that way every week. If you play against better offensive teams, you're going to need to play differently. But in his second start for DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, in his first start in a while and his second start overall against probably the best defensive team you're going to face the rest of the season, it was the absolute right game plan to be conservative. And you folks, you know me, I'm Mr. Anti-conservative. I hate it. But that's how they had to win today, and I loved it. He made one mistake on a tip ball, had the one turnover. I predicted the Browns would win 10-9. They won 13-10. This was right around what I expected in this game. I just wanted to look at the halftime statistics because let's see. Here we go. So Dorian Thompson-Robinson in the first half was 13 of 19 for 98 yards. And then for the game, 13 of 19, 98. And so for the game, he threw a lot of passes in the second half. He was 9 for 24 for about 80 yards in the second half, many of them coming on that last drive. So as expected, the rest of the second half, he really did nothing. They couldn't run the ball. The Browns were very ineffective. Let's face it, their run game has been very mediocre outside of last week against Baltimore. Kareem Hunt had some big runs, had that big first down run when he leapfrogged, did that, hurdled a Steelers player. But overall, Kareem Hunt to Jerome Ford and one run from Pierre Strong combined, the three running backs, 25 carries, 72 yards. They're going to need to be better in all aspects of the offense going forward. But I love this win because this is how they needed to win this game. A lot of people thought the Browns would score a lot. I know my man G thought they'd score a lot. I never thought they would score a lot. I knew they had to win a grinded-out game. They're going to have, you knew DTR would have to make a couple of plays. He did in the first half on the drive they scored. He did late in the fourth quarter in the 2-minute drive. I mean, talk about pressure. The Browns had blown a 10-point lead. Jaylen Warren had the big run start the third quarter. The Steelers grinded out a little bit on another drive to get a field goal. They had field position advantage for much of the second half after the touchdown. The running game was non-existent, and yet DTR, who was had to get it done. On that last drive, he had to make some big throws, and the Browns found a way. Before we get to that, let's get back to the beginning of the game, right? The Browns got the ball first. They moved it a little bit on that initial drive and were able to flip field position in their favor on their first drive as they got the ball into Steeler territory, punted, buried the Steelers back at the 9. I thought Myles Garrett set the tone for the Browns defense. On the first play, he sacks Kenny Pickett. Now, this is one of the few mistakes. Kevin Stefanski, who I love, who I just streamed at fans for doubting this guy all the time. He did have a few head-scratching moves. Now, the first two, I blame more the guy or the woman or whoever is giving him advice on when to challenge and when not to challenge. Myles Garrett had a sack on the first play. They ruled Kenny Pickett down inside the 1. It should have been a sack. He should have challenged. Apparently, he threw the flag out just after the play started. They missed an opportunity. Would have been 2-0. Now, the good news is that they had to punt from inside their goal line or inside their end zone. The Browns got it back. They started at the 50, had great field position, and were able to get down the field for a touchdown. The big play, a couple of big plays on that drive. On 2nd down and 8, Dorian Thompson-Robinson hit David Njoku for an 18-yard completion that got it down to the 30. And you didn't want to be in a third and long situation. David Njoku had a rough day. A lot of drops in this game, but that was a big play he made. And then the second big play, after Jerome Ford had one of his very few good runs in this game, was 2nd and 5 at the 25. Jerome Ford, a 13-yard run and a face mask penalty on Patrick Peterson, so the Browns got it at the 6. They got it down to the 1-yard line. On 3rd and goal at the 1, they ran it with Ford. They originally ruled him down just outside the goal line. Stefanski called for replay. At first glance, I was like, I don't know. I didn't think he should have done that, but he was right in that case. Their replay guy, whoever it was, got it right. They scored it. They ruled it a touchdown. The Browns took a 7-0 lead. Again, Pittsburgh did nothing their second drive. We went back and forth with punts until finally the Browns got the ball at their own 17 with 5:30 to go. They marched down the field. It was a really long drive. It ended at the Pittsburgh 6, and Dustin Hopkins kicked the field goal at the end of the first half. So the Browns did a really good job on that drive of milking the clock, not giving the Steelers the ball, not giving them another chance with the ball. But the drive was 5 minutes or so, and they got it down to the 6th. Eventually, they kicked the field goal, and they really did it. The Browns have been great at time of possession. They've been the best team in the league. The Steelers, I think, have been the 3rd worst team in the league in terms of field position, and the Browns did a great job on that drive of milking the clock, knocking it down, and Hopkins kicks the field goal with 25 seconds left. The Browns felt very in control at halftime. Unfortunately, on the second play of the second half, Jaylen Warren busts a run for 74 yards. Remember, the Steelers had, I want to say, 60 yards of offense total in the first half, something like that. And Warren breaks out for a 74-yard run. Then from there on, Steelers had a line of the field advantage in terms of the line of scrimmage. And eventually it led to an easy field goal attempt. The Browns were able to keep the Steelers out of the end zone a second time. It looked bad because that drive after the Steelers got that touchdown and then kind of went back and forth with some punts. And in the middle of the fourth quarter, it looked like the Steelers were starting to grind out the Browns defense. But they held on that drive, and the Steelers could not do anything after that. It was really a great job by the Browns defense. That they were able to completely shut them down after that and hold on there and give their offense after they punted a bunch of times. And remember, the Browns offense in the first half, again, did nothing. They hadn't moved the ball at all in the second half. They only had 259 yards for the game, and they had a good chunk of that in the first half and then that final drive. And then the Browns got the ball back. The number I was looking for before, by the way, was that drive at the end of the first half where the Browns kicked the field goal. 17 plays, 77 yards. I mean, that's grinding out a drive. And the Steelers, in their long drive to tie the game, 13 plays, 62 yards, took 7 minutes. So the Browns got it back. They punted. The Steelers got it back. Browns forced a 3 and out. And remember, the last 2 times the Steelers got the ball, even after the 10-10, they had great field position, and the Browns didn't even let him get another field goal attempt off. The defense was just absolutely outstanding. Myles Garrett trying to win rookie of the year, defensive player of the year, had 2 big sacks. He has 13. He leads the league. But it all came down to the final drive. The final drive of the game with the Browns and the Steelers tied at 10. And the way the second half had gone for the Browns offense, I was thinking, okay, just run the clock and let's hope the Browns can win the game in overtime. I did not think the Browns were going to be able to get down the field to get a touchdown on that final drive. To get even a field goal in that final drive, even a field goal attempt, because they just were not moving the ball at all in the first half of the game, in the second half of the game, after they had done a decent job of moving the ball in the first half. But they were unable to sustain drives. The Steelers were coming up on everything. The Browns were not challenging down the field at all. But again, I understood that. But in the final drive, they opened it up a little, and the Browns were able to make enough plays to get in great field position. Now, they started with the ball after the punt. A decent return by Prochet gets it to the 35, or a small return, but it wasn't a great punt. So they started at the 35. It was the best starting field position they'd had in a while. Another huge play. We talked about some big plays on the drive in the first half. In the final drive, with the Browns starting at the 35-yard line, you figure they need to go at least 25 yards for a field goal attempt. But there was only 1:18 to go. The Browns had their timeouts. They had 2 timeouts left, but only 1:18 to go. They hadn't been moving the ball. My hope, honestly, was just, if you can get field goal range, okay, just at least run the clock so the Steelers don't get the ball back, and maybe you can flip the field a little in overtime. Fortunately, the Browns did me one better, and did all of you one better. The first play, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, quick pass, short left, Elijah Moore early in the game had a bad drop, then he made a nice play, and on this one, great play by Elijah Moore, who's been up and down, as we know. He got down. It was a low throw. He got down, cradled it there so the ball doesn't hit the ground. And on one play, the Browns get it to midfield. That was big. At the 50, so now you're at the 50-yard line. You might even be able to kick a field goal with another 10 yards. Still 58 seconds to go, but the clock is moving. They hit Kareem Hunt with a quick pass. He gets out of bounds. Clock stops with 53 seconds left. It's a 2nd and 5. Now, by the way, I mentioned a couple things that Stefanski had me scratching my head. The second one was the play earlier when Kenny Pickett dives for the first down. His helmet comes off, and everybody piles on the helmet. So it looks like if you were at the game, I saw people at the game saying, oh, he was short. No, he was not. It was clear that he was not short. And and I blame Kevin Stefanski. It's really who's ever advising him in the booth about replaying. There was a timeout on the field. There was plenty of time. It was a really bad challenge. They wasted their last challenge there. That was stupid. My final criticism will come on this last drive, although overall, I think Kevin Stefanski did a magnificent job again, but I got to be fair and point out the things that I didn't like because, anyway, things get crazy. All right, so 2nd and 5 at the 45, 53 seconds left. DTR hits Amari Cooper on a slant pattern, and Amari Joey Porter was on him all day. Joey Porter's, a rookie, obviously. He's played really well. He was all over Cooper, but he just got a half a step on him. Gets the ball, first down at the 37. All right, now you're in field goal range. It's a deep field goal, but we know Dustin Hopkins has been great over 50. The Browns call the second timeout. I don't have a problem with that. 1st and 10 at the 37. DTR hits Njoku, and again, Njoku, who's had a rough day, a lot of drops, but this was a big play. He needed this one because he had really let DTR down. I saw after the game DTR and Njoku hugging. Njoku was talking to him. He had let him down for most of the day, but on this play, in the biggest drive of the game, Njoku made the grab, 11 yards, another first down. Now, you're in big-time field goal range. At this point, there's 25 seconds left. All right? So 25 seconds left. You have a 1st and 10 at the 26. From here, it's a 43-yard field goal. Dustin Hopkins, the way he's played this year, you figure he's going to make that 19 out of 20 times. So the Browns run it to get a couple of yards, maybe get a Hopkins in the perfect spot that he wants it. They get 2 yards. Now, what was weird to me here, and maybe the quarterback did it, maybe it was a mistake, the Browns call their final timeout with 20 seconds left. I didn't like this. Now, in the end, it didn't matter. But it was a weird thing to do. There was a delay game called, and the Steelers actually moved the ball up 5 yards. Then they ran with Hunt, which I don't have a problem with. But I don't understand. After Hunt gets the first run with 25 seconds left, instead of using their timeout there, they should have clocked it on that play. Instead, they had to clock it after Hunt ran the second run on second down, and now you had to rush because you worried that now you have no more timeouts, so you have to clock it. But now they had enough time. They ended up clocking it with how many seconds left? It was, I can't remember now. I think it was 7 seconds left. Or 5 seconds. No. Yeah, it was 5 seconds left. And again, they had enough time to clock it, but why put yourself in that situation? If you would have clocked it on first down, then you know you have the timeout and you could stop the clock immediately then. I thought that was a mistake. Again, I didn't see who called the timeout. Maybe DTR did. I don't know. In the end, it didn't matter, but that was a head-scratcher play I didn't like. In the end, as I said, fortunately, it didn't matter. They do stop the clock. And then the Browns go out for the field goal. And Dustin Hopkins puts it right through the uprights. Never a doubt. Again, just like last week with the game-winning field goal, there's a flag on the play, and for a moment you're like, no. And then again, like last week it was on Baltimore. This week it's on Pittsburgh. And the Browns win it 13-10. You got to love it. At this point, the Bengals, in my opinion, are out of it at 5-5. The Steelers are certainly not out of it at 6-4. But now you've split with them. The Browns now are 3-2 in the division. And when you play the Bengals, they're not going to have Joe Burrow. Not that it's a guaranteed win, but it puts you in good shape. The Browns have won 3 in a row for the first time in a number of years. They've won 5 of their last 6. Remember, they were 3-2, and since then they've gone 5-1. The defense has been absolutely outstanding, only allowing 177 points in 11 games. The only teams that have given up less than the Browns have played less games. San Francisco's given up 143 and 9. The Eagles have given up more. Let's see. I think there was one of the Chiefs have given up 143 in 9 games. And the Jets have given up 1 less point, 172 in 9 games. So those 3 teams have given up less points, but they've all played 2 less games to this point. Those teams are still playing this week. So the Browns defense has been outstanding. The Browns defense has allowed 180 points. The Ravens 177. That's my bad. So there's a couple other teams ahead of the Browns there. But and the Browns have actually played only one more game than those teams, not two. The Ravens have played two more. So that's even more impressive. But the Browns point differential now plus 47, which is the fifth best in the AFC. Listen, outside of the Ravens game, the first time when DTR played, the Browns have played outstanding football. They've been in every game, in every game besides that game, 9 out of 10. They're now 5-1 at home. The only team in the AFC with a better home record is Miami at 5-0. Nobody else has 5 wins in the AFC at home. There's a couple of 4-0 teams in the NFC, Philly, Dallas, and that's it. And Detroit's 4-1 at home. I'm not even going to say the dog pound. The Cleveland Browns Stadium has turned into a huge home field advantage. The fans, you guys did an amazing job today. Very loud, very into it. Let's take a look at some of the final numbers in the box score. DTR finishes 24 for 43, 165, no touchdowns and a pick. It was tipped. He did it again for the situation. If you say in a vacuum, did this quarterback have a good game? No, he didn't have a good game by traditional standards. But I thought for the most part he did what they needed him to, considering he had very little help because the running game was non-existent. He made a few nice plays with his legs, carrying 20 yards on 3 carries. Elijah Moore had a solid game. Did have the one drop, but that was it. 6 of 7 for 60. David Njoku had 15 targets, but only 7 catches, a lot of drops. If you see 7 for 56, you think Njoku continued his good game, but he didn't have a great game today, but he made a big play when it mattered. Amari Cooper didn't do much, but 4 for 34. Again, a couple of big plays when they needed him. JOK continues to play great on the defensive side of the ball. I thought outside of the one run when again, it was really in a lot of ways like the first Browns-Steelers matchup, except this time the Browns won it late instead of the Steelers in a game where the Browns offense wasn't doing much. Jaylen Warren had the great 74-yard run. He had a fantastic game. He had 9 carries for 129 yards. He was great. He had 145 yards total, including pass receiving. Nobody else did anything. Pickett was awful, 15 of 28, 106. Nobody else did anything else on the ground, really. Their leading receiver was George Pickens, who had 4 catches on 6 targets for 38 yards. Deontay Johnson was a non-factor. Freiermuth was a non-factor. The Browns did a great job defensively, despite the fact that they didn't force any turnovers in this game. First time in a while. They lost a turnover battle again, 1-0, but won the game. Anthony Walker Jr. got hurt. We'll have to see what happened. They've been very healthy on offense, especially in the front 7. First injury they've had to deal with really in the front 7. Taki stepped in at middle linebacker, did a nice job. Again, I thought the secondary played well. They missed contain on the one Jaylen Warren run, but it was really not much outside of that. Again, that touchdown was 74 yards, and the Steelers, besides that play, only had 150 yards the rest of the game, and it was they just did nothing in the passing game. Kenny Pickett averaged less than 4 yards per pass attempt, which is awful. Now, DTR averaged less than 4 yards per pass attempt as well. So, again, this not good quarterback play in this game, but that was the type of game. Going forward against some better offensive teams, like Jacksonville and a couple of others, Houston, DTR is going to have to do much more. But for this game, it was the right game plan to be ultra conservative, and in the end, it worked. And in the end, the Browns are 7-3, and their chances of making the playoffs, I would say, are outstanding. Can they win in the playoffs with a quarterback playing like this? Probably not. Not against good teams. But DTR has time to get better, to build his confidence. He had to throw a lot of passes. They threw a lot late. They weren't running the ball effectively. They're going to need a better running game. But again, in my opinion, the Steelers are the best defense the Browns are going to face the rest of the year. You're not facing a laundry list of great defenses the rest of the year. And so they had the right game plan. Stefanski gets an A or an A-. I'm going to give him an A- because I thought there were a couple of mistakes I talked about with the challenges and the use of the bad use of the last time out. But I give him an A-. The defense gets an A. No A+ because of the Jaylen Warren run, but an A. The running game gets a C-. Kareem Hunt had a couple of nice plays when it mattered late, big first downs, and Ford busted in for the touchdown on a close play. I'll give DTR a C. I'll give him a C. The numbers are not worthy of a C, but the circumstances for him, to me, are. That's going to do it for me today. Thanks to Max and Monzo. Thanks to all of you. Make sure you subscribe to the Bullpen with Adam the Bull on YouTube. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here in the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by Bet Rivers. See you, everybody.